If you're new to alcohol markers, or if you're not new but you've played with them enough to know that you really don't know what you're doing yet, there is a trick to learning how to use markers. Unfortunately, Copic doesn't do a very good job teaching the trick, and cheaper markers, they can't even do it. So really quickly, let me show you how to make beginner marker blending a whole lot easier. Okay, I'm sure you've heard all the bad advice because it's everywhere.
All you need is a light, medium, and dark.
And you've tried this. Sometimes it works, but most of the time, it doesn't. Sometimes the darker marker just won't blend, so you end up scrubbing it really hard and using tons of ink. Sometimes the lighter marker bleaches everything else. So you'll see people going back and forth, adding more light ink and then adding more dark ink. They're reblending the reblend of a blend, desperately trying to make it look halfway decent. But hey, all you needed was a light, medium, and dark, right? Hang on. This doesn't have to be so hard. There's something easier than light, medium, and dark. It's much easier to blend one color with itself. Meet the natural blending combination. In Copic, a natural blending combo is a series of markers which all begin with the same first number. Now, some will tell you that the first number stands for how bright the color is, or how grayish or dirty the color is. This is not true. The first number doesn't tell you anything about the color. The first number has nothing to do with color at all. All it means is that these markers are made with the same dye. This is yellow dye number 1. Copic has space to create 10 different yellow groups. Each group uses a different yellow dye. Dye number 0, dye number 1, dye number 2. Copic actually stopped at yellow dye number 3, but in the future, they could do yellows with the first number of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. So all yellow markers with a 1 in that first position are made with the same concentrated yellow dye, number 1. They've made these markers by diluting that dye with different amounts of alcohol. This marker has lots of dye number 1 and then just a little bit of alcohol. This marker is dye number 1 with even more alcohol. And more, and more, and more until you get all the way down to this one, which is mostly alcohol with just a teeny tiny bit of dye number 1. So when it comes time to blend these markers, they easily blend with each other because they're all the same thing. Grabbing any old light, medium, and dark yellow combination is always going to be more difficult to blend than a natural yellow combination. And it's not just yellow. This is true for every marker color. Here, you're dealing with 3 random inks that don't know each other and they don't know how to blend with each other. But this is the same ink 3 times over. Unfortunately, many people start with one of the Copic boxed sets. And I don't understand why Copic encourages this, because their boxes do not contain natural blends. Or maybe you went shopping and you picked out individual markers because they were pretty. You didn't know to pay attention to that first number. It's not that this combination will never blend. In fact, I use this one all the time. It's that this natural blend here is so much easier to blend, especially for beginners. Now here's where you may be at a serious disadvantage. The natural dilution system, the only companies doing this right now are Copic and Olo. Ohuhu doesn't do this. They can't. Cheap markers use cheap dye. And cheap dye can't handle the dilution. That's why it's cheap. At the cheap marker factory, if they add too much alcohol, the ink could bleach itself out, but it could also separate or even coagulate and clump. Their diluted markers would not be shelf stable. So instead of dilutions, bargain brand markers, they borrow lots of different dyes to kind of fake the look of natural dilutions. But their lights, mediums, and darks are not dilutions. These colors are barely related to each other. This is why cheap markers are harder to blend. As you learn and grow and gain more experience, you'll get better at blending. And honestly, after a few years, you can blend anything with everything. But in the beginning, it's hard. This is why I do not recommend cheap markers for beginners. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but beginners need high-quality markers more than the professional artists. Learning is hard enough without fighting with your markers. Naturally formed, natural blending combinations, they make learning easier. For easy blending beginner yellow Copic recommendations, I have a whole series of videos. Start here.